So the other thing too is by doing it yourself, you're robbing people of the ability to learn how to do it and get better. And so the mantra I always use is like, if you can teach someone to be 80% as good as you at a certain task, then you should delegate it. Like you need to get rid of that thing because 80% is good enough to move forward. It's not going to be as good as you, of course not, but it's going to be good enough because then you replace the time you would have done with that thing with higher leverage things that are going to move the business forward. And so here's the thing. Most of us go in and we rescue. Welcome back to the Restaurant Growth Accelerator podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Scott, multi-unit owner for almost 20 years, and now we help restaurant owners increase their sales, increase their bottom line profit, and help them have more freedom with their time and expand to multiple locations, grow their business. So let's dive into our topic today. The phrase, I'll just do it myself. If I had a nickel for every time I said that, there's so many people and owners specifically, I'll just do it myself. It's easier if I just do it myself. I bet some of you listening to this right now have said that today. So we used to think, oh, no one can do it as good as me. If you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And I will say that is one way to do it. And it's usually the easiest way because it's also the only way that you know how. And we have to understand the difference in between doing what we've always done, which will get us similar results to what we've always gotten, versus acting in accordance with how we want to and where we want to grow. So look at it from this perspective. Most people do things themselves because they aren't great teachers, or they don't have the hiring skills to hire the best people so that they can actually trust people to do the things that they are assigning them. The reason you feel like you need to do everything yourself is because either you haven't trained people properly or you don't have the right people so that even when you do train them, they still don't get it and they still screw it up, right? At the end of the day, that's what we're talking about. And it's just we put so much on ourselves and we mask that deficiency. Like I say this, like with one location, you can brute force success in one location by doing everything yourself. You're going to be stressed. You're going to burn out. You're going to think that everyone sucks. But hey, you can make it happen because you become the system in the business. But guess what? You get to 2 locations, to 3 locations, you fail because you just simply do not have the bandwidth and the amount of hours to go around and do that for every single location that you have. You just can't do it. And so when I first had my own, like my very first location, that's what I did. I worked 80 plus hours. There was 100-hour weeks. There was 120-hour weeks sometimes when we were short staffed. And I just did everything myself. And I remember this one time when I didn't train everyone how to make cookies because cookies they were burnt so often. We had cookies. So I was like, I'm the only one that's going to make them. And I literally made this like haiku that says, do not make cookies unless you've been trained. All you're doing is burning them and wasting my money. Do not make cookies unless you've been trained. I was a dick. I'll just be totally honest. But it came from a place of really hardcore stress because somebody had tried to make cookies and they didn't know how. And so they burnt them. And all of a sudden, like at this point, I was like in overdraft. I was like almost bankrupt. Like I missed my rent. Like I was in a really tough spot. So like the $5 in wasted cookies, was a massive thing for me. So I didn't have $5. I had like negative $10,000. That's what I had. So it was so stressful. And I, of course, let that out on everyone when that was the situation. So for any of my people that worked for me in roughly 2007 to 2009, I apologize. Anyway, so that is the way in which I acted, because I thought the only answer was just to do it myself. You can't find good help these days, right? And these are the things that we all talk about. But the truth is, we just need to like switch that phrasing. You can't find good help these days. Switches to, I don't know how to find good help these days. If you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. You could turn that into, if you want something done right, you have to teach other people so that you don't have to do it yourself, or you have to teach people to do it good enough as you would do it yourself. So, what I mean? Like we can change those phrases, and that just kind of rewires what we do, right? Because if we realize that I had somebody tell me there's no one that can do what I do. Nobody can make pizza dough the way that I do. It's impossible. I'm like, brother, they train brain surgery. Like it's possible. You know what I mean? Like, so there's only one person in the world that can make this pizza dough. No, like they teach people how to fly planes and do brain surgery. We can figure out how to systemize making your pizza dough. I get that it's not easy, but it also could be that you're just not good enough at it yet. You're not good enough at training people on it. You're not good enough at hiring people that have the capabilities to be able to do that. Or the upside of doing all that is not great enough for them to even want to do it. It could be any of those things. Doesn't mean it's impossible, right? It is just difficult. And so what I want you guys to understand is that by saying, I'll just do it myself, you are doing two things. Number one, you are putting more workload on yourself, which is typically done in service of base level outcomes. So we're usually saying, I'll just do it myself when it's something simple and it's like, frontline work. So it's not like, I'll just do it myself. I'm going to design this whole marketing campaign that's going to add $10,000 a month to my business. No, it's usually like, I'll do it myself. I will go and wash the dishes because you suck at washing dishes. Like that's usually the way it happens. I'll do it myself. I'll go and cook this, this special menu item, right? It's not the high leverage things that are really going to move our business forward. It's the stuff that's going to keep us the same. And we usually do that because we don't have the training in place for it. So the other thing too is by doing it yourself, you're robbing people of the ability to learn how to do it and get better. And so the mantra I always use is like, if you can teach someone to be 80% as good as you at a certain task, then you should delegate it. Like you need to get rid of that thing because 80% is good enough to move forward. It's not going to be as good as you, of course not, but it's going to be good enough because then you replace the time you would have done with that thing with higher leverage things that are going to move the business forward. And so here's the thing. Most of us go in and we rescue. And you know what? We probably feel good because we jump in there, we get everybody out of the weeds, we save them from what's going on, we crush the rush, and then at the end we're like, yeah, I saved the day, I'm the best person here, the owner to the rescue again, give myself a pat on the back. You're feeling good. And you go home, you're like, yep, I saved the day today, right? So you are taking hero behavior and utilizing that, and you derive satisfaction from that. But the real failing was that you had to become a hero at all. The real failing is that you didn't either prep them, train them, schedule, forecast. Like there's a number of things that didn't happen that led to that situation that led to you having to do that. And so we default to being the hero and rescuing people instead of actually using that opportunity to teach people. This is the hardest thing to do. An example of that for me, so I remember I had the security cameras, like I had the feed in my office, and I would be there doing payroll or something. And I'd kind of see if it got busy, and I would watch the cameras because I didn't want to go out and I didn't want to be the hero so that they would never learn to handle it. But I also wanted to look, okay, maybe do they need help? Maybe they need help, which just meant that I didn't do the payroll I was supposed to do because I was watching the cameras, but it wasn't helping them either. So it was just a giant waste of time. But the thing is, what I had to learn is sometimes you have to let people learn and adapt. You have to give them the training in advance, but you got to give them the opportunity. And so what most often happens is as soon as it gets busy, someone jumps in and you jump in and do it yourself. And it just robs people the opportunity of getting better and doing the things that they need to do. So we need to not rescue. Here's a perfect example of this. There's a client I had named Vicky. Hey, real quick. What if you could identify thousands in hidden profits, optimize your food and labor costs, and know exactly what moves to make next to grow your restaurant business, all in less time than it takes to drink your morning coffee? That's exactly why I created the Restaurant Weekly Financial Tracker. It's free and available on the link that's in the description. Grab your free copy now and focus in on your restaurant's profitability today. And this is back in 2019, I want to say. And in 2019, Vicky was the classic rescuer personality, right? And so instead of being a leader and a coach, she was a rescuer. Something bad would happen, boom, she'd be driving to the store, and she lived like an hour away from one of them. And so she ended up driving an hour there. She was there, like by the time she got there, they had solved it, like, the rush had died down. And so they just drove an hour back. But instead of doing the work she was supposed to do, which was the more owner level work, she ended up just spending all the time in her car driving to solve issues that weren't even issues. And so one time I was like, Vicky, let them handle it. So I told her that. I was like, the next time you feel the need to go in and rescue, you call me. So she did one day. She was like 20 minutes into her drive, and she pulled over to the side of the road. And she's like, Andrew, I'm on my way to the store right now. The walk-in broke down. It's a disaster. And I'm like, okay, that sounds terrible. Vicky, do you know how to fix the walk-in? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay. So like, what are you going to do when you get there? And she's like, well, I'm just going to call the company and like, look at everything. And then they'll have to send a crew to come and fix it. I'm like, okay. Is there a reason why you can't call them now? She's like, no. I'm like, okay. Is there anything that you can do that company that you're calling cannot do? Do they physically need you to be on site for anything to do whatever? No. Okay. Does the team need you to do anything other than give them instructions on how to handle this situation, like keep the door closed and stuff like that? No. Okay. So then why the hell are you driving to the location for you to stand there and do nothing and wait and waste your entire day until it's resolved, other than the fact that you feel like, you should be the hero right now? Is there any logical reason as to why you need to be there and do that? No. Okay. So what do you think you should do, Vicky? And so she turned her car around and went back and worked on the things that she was supposed to be working on during that time. That's what happens to so many people, is like, I'll just do it myself. We do things and do things. Another thing that happens is we think that our labor is free. Our labor is not free. Our labor is measured in opportunity cost. So what you have to ask yourself is, when you go and you work that shift, are you doing it to train people? Are you doing it for a reason other than just saving labor? Let's say you pay people $20 an hour, $25 an hour, whatever the case it is. Let's just say you do that. You're basically then becoming a $20 an hour employee or $25 an hour employee, like whatever. Like, you're just becoming that. When reality is that if you focus on things like marketing or forecasting or trying to get catering business, or like there's 100 other things you could do that would be far more valuable with your time that no one else can do than you sitting there and doing that. So I had this rule for my managers. Sometimes it would happen where they would end up closing because, somebody was sick or somebody quit or something like that. And what I always told them was, like, you were paid way too much to go and replace someone that earns like half as much. Like, that's just a gross misuse of your labor dollars. So if you're going in and you have to close or open, or you get stuck doing any one particular thing, the only way that it becomes acceptable is if you have someone there training with you. So at least you could be working on getting out of the problem, and at least you're doing something worthy of your time. So if you've got to go in and close, you better have someone there, and you better be teaching them how to close. Like, that's just it. Because there's no point in me paying you $30 an hour, for example, when the average wage is $20. There's no reason why I should be paying that for someone to do that level of work, right? It just doesn't make sense. So as owners, your labor is not free. It's measured in opportunity cost. So the cost of you doing this and working for, say, $20 or $25 an hour, the opportunity cost could be a few $100s in revenue. It could be a catering contract. It could be any one of a million things, looking at your food and labor costs, because they're probably over for most of you guys. Trying to figure out, okay, let's redo the menu or redo menu pricing or cost out the menu. Like, it could be anything. The cost of not doing those things is substantial, but we always think, oh, my labor's free because I don't, I'm not paid hourly. I take an owner's draw, or I do a salary, or maybe you don't pay yourself at all. And so that's what we think. We think we're saving labor, but in reality, we're just putting ourselves further in the hole, and you're robbing your team the opportunity to improve themselves and get better. So you'll have a better, more sustainable team. And so what we need to do is transition from being a doer to a leader. And that's the identity shift, because a lot of times we get that high from getting in there and doing and physically completing something. Like, I used to love it when I would go and tackle the dish pit and I would finish it all, be like, yes, I did it. Everyone's going to be so happy that I did this thing and, I was productive, right? But in reality, that's not the type of productivity that I should be going for, and nor should you. We need to understand that by actually allowing other people to handle it, we need to get excited and get our validation from others being able to do things, and from the larger business moving forward as a whole. So we change from being a doer, working with our hands and getting instant gratification for what we do, to changing to getting our gratification from our team succeeding and our business succeeding overall. And it is difficult to make that change, because you get kind of addicted to being the hero. But I'm going to tell you that if you always jump in as the hero, you will always have to jump in as the hero until you change. Like, if that's what you're doing, you are creating the circumstances where that will be required of you in the future. So I'll give you an example. I had this client named Dave. This was, I think, in 2021. I had a couple of pizzerias in Texas. And he had this floor drain, and no one cleaned it because he was the one that cleaned it. And he told me, Andrew, check this out. I always clean this floor drain because I want to show the team that the owner will get his hands dirty and he will do it. And, like, no job is above anybody. And that's the culture we have here. And so then he goes on vacation for a week, comes back, and he's like, Andrew, they didn't clean the floor drain. I was gone. And like, how come nobody cleaned it? Like, if I can do it, and I showed them how. And like, if I can do that, then how come nobody else is doing it? He was so pissed. And I'm like, well, hey, dude, because you always do it. Did you like put it on a list that they needed to do it? Did you like mention it? Like, did you set it as part of like your systems and processes that you have on a checklist? Like, do you do that? No, they should just know. And I was like, okay, well, guess what? They didn't do it because you always do it, right? Nobody realized that, oh, well, since Dave's not here, I'm going to have to do it. No, there was, oh, Dave always do it. So they didn't even think about it. It's just something that gets done. They never have to worry about it. They've never done it before. It's not on a list. So like, why would they? You've created the situation that everyone is living by. So if you always come in and you're the hero and the rescuer, guess what? They will call you to come in whenever they need help because you always show up. Instead of figuring out on their own, instead of doing what they need to get better, they will always default to the easiest scenario, which you make way too easy. So what I want you to understand is we actually need to let people fail productively. And so what I mean is we do need to give them a little bit of rope where they can learn and get better. And sometimes it's like what the most frustrating part was about management training for me is we would teach them how to do their Cisco orders. We would give them parameters and I would have to let them over order. So annoying. They'd be ordering like an extra $1,000 of inventory. I'm like, man, I really don't want to send that on my back end right now. But they would overorder. And then the next time I'd be like, hey man, you way overordered here. Here's all the things you overordered. And then they would get it. And then I'd be like, it's $1,000. So like, do you have $1,000 to give to me to put in my bank account to make up for this inventory, which is just going to sit there? Well, no. Okay. So like, let's not do that again. And then they would go and they would under order. And I knew they were going to miss out on a couple items, but I knew I had another location so we could draw from. But then I made them go and pick up those items from the other store so that they would learn the lesson that they needed to make sure they actually followed our order guide and followed it properly and didn't over order, but also didn't under order. So they need to find out where that line was. And I had to let them fail in order for them to learn that. I could have jumped in and saved the day, but as soon as I stopped jumping in to save the day, what would have happened? Exactly those two scenarios, only I wouldn't be there to catch them. Maybe I was on vacation, maybe I was whatever. And then all of a sudden they wouldn't know how to solve the problems. They would be in a much worse place. And so this is how you let people fail productively with some guardrails around it. So I just want to encourage you guys, if you are talking about, oh, I'll just do it myself, and if that's something you utter all the time, just realize you are shooting yourself in the foot and shooting your team in the foot. And what we need to do is change our behavior and our desires and where we get our gratification so that we become teachers instead of heroes. And so we become leaders instead of doers. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful. So we will catch you on the next episode. And as always, if you have any questions, hit me up on my social media, let me know, and we'll chat soon. This episode is brought to you by Ownership Training, where we help restaurant owners increase their profits while spending more time with their family. And if you want to know exactly what it would take to grow your profit margin to 15% and beyond while spending more time with your family, my team has a few spots open this week for a free 15-minute restaurant assessment call. Just click the book a call link in the description and we'll show you the exact frameworks we're using to help our clients do this in as little as 6 to 8 weeks. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.